So your signature, that plate is only that should be filled. I know the challenge now is the 500 as the highest amount. So you as you are dance, but then talk. That's what I keep that. Especially the other side. When they were trouble company. So give us the last round as you navigate yourself, culture, to say, I don't appreciate it. So, okay. guys, everyone that country is here. Thank you for the support and encouragement guys for the art and the work they do. At this point, like I already introduced Salam to the person to this Oakland.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy lunch. You don't sound very happy and light. Anyway, good afternoon, distinguished panelists, guests, participants. Welcome to this crucial session on strategic mineral partnerships, evaluating Zambia's global units. As we all know, Zambia is blessed with abundant mineral resources that can be a transformative driver of economic growth, social development, and environmental stability. By way of brief introduction, my name is Mapego Blande. I'm a legal practitioner and climate change law expert based here in Lusaka. Today, I have the privilege of moderating this very important session as a representative of the Law Association of Zambia. I look forward to engaging with our distinguished panelists here as we explore Zambia's strategic mineral partnerships and their impact on our nation's sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, our goal is to identify the opportunities and challenges in these agreements and to explore the strategies that can help Zambia strengthening in its negotiation capacities, not only that, but also to promote transparency and align mineral partnerships with long-term national interest. Let's begin by hearing from our panelists on the economic, social, and environmental outcomes that have emerged from recent mineral agreements and how they compare with their original objectives. Without any particular order, I will go right into introducing our panelists for the day. We have in our midst the partner of Chito and Chito Advocates, my senior most counsel, very senior member of the bar, 37 years, over 37 years rather, of experience in the legal industry, Mr. Chimanchito, State Counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As I've been saying, my name is Chimanchito. I practice law in the firm called Chito and Chito. But in the gathering of this, I would like to remember that in my previous life, as I told my children, I used to be a senior executive in the mining component in Central Africa. I was deputy secretary in ZCCO for a while. I have, depending on which side of the debate you sit, I have the misfortune or the fortune of closing the very first transaction in the privatization of ZCCO, when a company which is no longer in existence as far as I can tell, Cyprus, Amax, acquires what is now called Kansanshi Mining PLC. And I shudder when I remember that the cash payment for the closure of that transaction was about $3 million. And I sat in my office and waited to hear that money had reached the ZCCM accounts and transferred the asset. But you know that that's the value of the asset. I think that I make that point for me because I believe that we are in this mining industry and alternative mining industry and exploring these partnerships that Zambia has entered into, and then asking the questions, what benefits has the country acquired out of this? I ask myself, are we actually having the right conversation? Okay. Is it that so we are supposed to be sitting here, have these assets, have these investors come and check these assets, and then see what comes to us and what benefit would have acquired out of those assets? So the question may, if we want to go that direction, we should ask ourselves, what would be our best return out of those assets if they are foreign owned? It's tax, it's employment, it's what else? Their corporate social responsibility. If they engage in it, we expect them to comply with our environmental protection laws. The second question that I'd like to ask is, so assuming that all this went very well, what would be the result? What is it that we want to achieve out of this? And it is important for us to ask those questions because I believe that sometimes as Zambians we sit down and ask the wrong question and get the right questions to the wrong answers, and we are still in the same place. Now, the reason why I am going that direction, trying to digress from the conversation, is this. If you look at a government's contribution to GDP by reason of its product, its services that it buys and what it does, is about 24%. Give or take, in our country is something. If you are in Finland, or those working countries where they are very high tax, maybe you get 50%. So we would like to get a return on this investment. And I'm reminded as we think like that of something that was said by Mr. Churchill. And this is what he said, that he says that a country that attempts to develop through taxation is like a person standing in a bucket and attempting to lift themselves by their bootstraps. And we all know the result. It can happen. So that's why I am asking whether we are asking the right question. Okay? And as I came here and sat down, I remember that we are not the only major mining company country in the world, particularly copper mining. So we take an example of Chile, who are the largest copper producers in the world. I would like to believe that a lot of us know that the biggest mine producing company in the world is the company called Hotel in Chile, which is 100% owned by the Chilean state. It's not a private company. So the question is again, are we asking the right question? If you look at our neighbors in Botswana, what they've done with their diamonds, is the income that Botswana has gained out of diamonds, out of taxation, or out of ownership? So again, are we asking the right questions? Now we have been asked a question. So maybe having said that, let's get back to try and answer the script we've been given with that in the background. If we think about the most recent transactions, which ones are they? It's the Mobile IRH transaction, where the government reduced or divested itself of its ownership, maybe on its position to change, but reduced its ownership by having IRH coming in and taking a stake of 51% of the company. And the government now, I think, is holding 49%. And if that is the way we are doing, then we will be saying, yes, maybe that's the way to go. In that regard, the government relieved itself of very high tax obligations So maybe if we were to go that direction, we say we are going in the right direction. But the question is that a pattern that we are creating, or was that a decision arrived at by exigencies? And that's the question that we must answer. Because when we look around, other than mining, now all the other mining companies, unless my information is wrong, which is possible, we don't own more than 25%. So we are expected to get a return again through taxation and hope that thereby we will develop. I think that those are the initial remarks, and I believe that your case is as good as mine. I will leave it to the next panel if you would like to say something.
Thank you very much, State Council, for those opening remarks. And secondly, we have also on our panel Mr. Adrian Saman Chikamba, who is a community activist, as well as the Mvula National Resource Committee Secretary. Mr. Chikabamba, wow. Must be the 72 languages that we have. That gives a bit of a twist of the tongue, but anyway. So I'd like you to also make some opening remarks, especially from the civil society perspective. If you may, please.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much for the feedbacks. I'll talk about the civil society perspective from the traditional perspective perspective. To begin with, I'll start with the perspective because as soon as I get about the tradition that I was prepared that we need this place because we are how are they involved in trade agreements? They deserve a bank, the community, to have a say when they are making trade agreements. Because we have to move away. Because when we are doing the breaks around, Peter Congo is touching Angola, Congo, TRC, and Zambia. Definitely, all that way to be done for the information. They are big to displacements, land clubs, and the rights. So all those have to be taken into consideration. So they need to whichever agreements. And again, I'm saying some of the are very shared to the community. Communities must be part of that information. Okay. Coming back to traditional customers, there is traditional land. But when our government, our traditional lands are not into, they must ensure traditional lands into so that we can have impact as we are speaking to others about how we are going to traditional arrangements. And again, when it comes to the civil society, as seeing women who have occupied a certain language, mining and gaming and others. It is the duty of the civil society to speak for the voiceless in the system. So, never should we give any student like everyone behind who is a Zambian by position. So that we can address all these issues with the benefit of we, the community, and all those who are in the trade. Thank you so much. I think that is enough.
Thank you. So I'll pose a question, very interesting remarks that you bring across the table here, Mr. Adrian. I'll pose a question to Mr. Chito. What are the current agreements that are structured to deliver long-term value for Zambia? Or do they overly favor foreign investors? Maybe that's what the participants would like to hear.
Thank you very much. I think the question is clear. In terms of in the mining sector, do we have an overriding structure dealing with agreements in mining? And I think that we need to take, in a sense, a step back and go back to the time of the original privatization. At the privatization, we had development agreements, we have development agreements which were clearly signed between the various stakeholders that came into the country. There was some America and a few others came afterwards. But those, I think, were done away with after the Manawasa administration. We have ended up with individual agreements. Okay? And some of these, like if you look at the transaction we're spoken about, the planning, IRH, recapitalization. It is simply an agreement between Mopani as a subsidiary of ZCCM, IH, and IRH, and the government as a facilitator. Now, maybe the question also that we should ask is that these companies that come into the country, they are corporate citizens. They become corporate citizens of this country. And the question that we then must maybe ask is, what is our legislative framework with regard to dealing with companies in this country? And as someone who has practiced law for a little while, I think that our biggest problem in this country is enforcement. We believe that when we enact a law, it will enforce itself. And when we fail to enforce the law, we change the law. We have just changed the mining regime to a new Mineral Commission Act and believe that things are going to get better. I don't think that, speaking for myself, I have seen an analysis that explains what was wrong with the previous regime. What is it that we want to change and want to create? So apart from taxation, what else are we expecting to come out of these companies? I hear a lot of our leaders talking to these companies and talking about their corporate social responsibility. But that's something that the company does in its own attitude. We don't have a mechanism to enforce corporate social responsibility as far as I'm aware. There are companies which have spent so much on corporate social responsibility, and this is what's going to happen. We don't. We do what we not only me, I have heard other people say more persuasion. And for me, I believe it doesn't work. And maybe let me then answer what I think is the problem. What is the problem with our relationship with our foreign investors? What is the problem? And I believe that the problem is the way we look at them. I think that as Zambians, and maybe just as Africans generally, we hold them to extremist views. One side believes that these foreign investors are fairy godfathers who have come to Zambia to come and help us develop. The other side believes that these foreign investors are devils who have come to drink our blood and take everything that we have. The truth is, they are not. They are just foreign businessmen who have come to invest and want a return on their investment. There is nobody who begins a business, even here. Is there anyone who has begun a business who said they never start? You start a business to send your own children to school. So you start a business to earn an income. So when people come here, they've come to make money. And we should not be grateful to make money if we have allowed them to come and make money in our economy. So maybe going back to my earlier statement about are we asking the right questions? I don't think so. The question is 60 years after independence, we don't have a mining house owned by Zambians. And the question is, Why? And that is the reason why we are not developed. Because there is no country that is developed by FDI. It doesn't exist. All countries that have been developed by the locals. Even the FDI, it will benefit us if it comes and partners with the local business. But we don't have any scheme to encourage local ownership. We are even struggling to produce Zambian commercial farmers. So we are not sure in terms of mining.
Thank you for that. It's a follow-up question on the basis of what you have shared to say that now how can Zambians retain greater ownership, greater control, value addition from its strategic mineral resources that it does have? What opportunities lie for Zambia? How can we change? How can we develop, given that we haven't done so for 60 years? What is it that we can do better?
I think that it all begins with the policy framework. It all begins with the policy framework and what it is that we are doing. Again, if you go back to what has happened, I was saying, talking earlier about it's true, I went to the mind that this is 30 something years after the privatization. What are we doing now? 30 years later, we are going back to reinventing the wheel, wanting to recreate ZCCM the way it was at the beginning. Now, you can't develop if you are going to fight. You must have consistent policies that enable Zambian ownership. I was giving you an example of Codelco in Chile at the beginning. When, if you know the history of Chile, I think in 1973, when there was a coup in Chile, when the military came in and they wanted to open for industry, they did not provide a privatized model. They said to the investors, guys, this is our mine. There is a green field. If you want to go and open mine, open your own mines and develop them, and then we see what happens. So they have their own ownership. So for me, the question that we need, or the answer to the question you asked, is about the policy shift. We must create an enabling environment where Zambians are allowed to own real industry. We are talking about mining, but it's not mining alone. We are just talking again about the practice law. The Lusaka Stock Exchange has been in existence maybe 25 years now. There has not been a single listing that is Zambian. Not one. One. So those, I think, are the problems. We need to turn back and look at ourselves and look at our government and say, can we create systems that allow people to own their own industry? My colleague here was talking about the community and the local leaders and the traditional leaders and the civil society. Yes, but it starts with a legal framework that enables a proper return on investment. And it begins by allowing the locals to have a say by owning their own assets. I know that we are making a shift by saying that certain mineral rights should be owned by Zambians, then you link up with the foreign investors. I must say that I'm pessimistic because we have failed to restrict blockade to Zambia. So I am not sure whether we can do it.
That's an interesting thought and also very realistic, I must say. Mr. Adrian, I want to go back to the issue of civil society, traditional leaders, which you also mentioned. All this, of course, in trying to evaluate Zambia's global agreements and how we are creating relationships or trying to consider FDI in the country. How then, from your opening remarks, how then can the civil society, the communities, as well as traditional leaders, meaningfully include or be meaningfully included in these discussions? How can they come on board? What suggestions do you have for these societies to come on board? We have heard from Mr. Nchito that, of course, policy framework is very important, but what do you think they can contribute to this process?
Thank you so much. Policy framework is very important. So coming back to civil society, traditional leaders and communities, I will begin by commending action in Zambia, who have made it possible for me to be here so that I can share what my community want, and then not following here. I expect him to deliver. They educated me about the people framework. So if I'm able to speak, guided by the civil society, it's a wake up call for the civil society to unite and start mobilizing communities so that they can speak for the need of what they want to achieve at the end. For the direct investment, it will only come in tandem with what civil society wants, when we all are inclusive. Now, how are you going to be inclusive without being educated? So let them educate us, mobilize, so that we can move the movement, civil society movements. Be it women movement, youth wing movement, that's what we achieve. Traditional leadership. Traditional leadership have got more powers for it and lives, customary lives. So if we respect the policies, not only respecting the policies, we introducing policies, let us work hard to implement so that we are not taking care of them. And then we think. Now, if understanding alone that at one so much now I mean, for them direct investment, these are the same people who are talking about global climate change. But here when they come doing mining activities, polluting our air, and then there are the same people who are saying, come 2024, Zambia experience plans if you don't plant more trees. We have got leaders in here who are not planting more trees, but even the parliamentarians have been waking up to say, let us go green parliament, let us plant at least 1,000 trees in each constituency. Asking if they have been very member of parliament and now have planted 500 above 1,000. No one. What are we expecting next year when we make a decision? Are we going to be with them? It's going to them. So that way, just organize ourselves as civil society, traditional leaders, and community, so that we get together, we come in, we take up this movement for others.
Interesting perspective that you have there, also very profound. I want to tie what you have just said to the next question that I will pose to SC. What lessons then can Zambia draw from other resource-rich nations that have successfully aligned mineral partnerships with inclusive and sustainable growth?
Thank you. I think that we are already starting talking about countries like Chile, where the government retained 100% ownership in the mining company that is the biggest copper miner in the world. We must begin to ask ourselves the question: if ZCCM fell, what is it that fell? And I think that is where we don't learn the correct lessons. As the saying goes, do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. But in the case of ZCCM, we did. There was nothing wrong with the company. There was something wrong with the way it was being managed, the way it was being used to spend money in the country. So we need to go back and say, can we learn the discipline of running these parastatals when we create them as companies which should show a return on their investment, Let's employ their management and their boards on meritocracy. Let's not appoint board members based on a network, a management that is based on people's relationships, but rather on their ability to perform and to run those industries. The thing that I'm asking about is this, and I think we can all testify to this. If you go all around the world where you find Zambians working, particularly Zambian professionals, they are top-notch professionals. They perform, they work very well. What is it that makes them not win when they come to Zambia? You know, I am reminded of a book by Chuma that he wrote in 1983, The Trouble with Nigeria. And we can ask the same question: what is wrong with Zambia? Is it the weather? Is it the people? Is it the leadership? Why don't we perform? It is because of the systems that we create. We like nepotism. We like to look after one another. Let's take an example from what has happened in other countries. When the military came to Chile, Codelco was not a profitable company. But we are told, if the stories are true, that the army general was given charge of that company. Just went to the management and says, guys, so that it appears you guys can't manage this company. When I come back in 3 months, if you are still not making a profit, I'll fire you and find me managers who run this company so that we can make a return on investment. And they got the message. We go in Botswana. What is Botswana doing? As we speak now, their president has just been making overtures that they are going to buy the beers which Anglo-American wants to let go of because they are the biggest contributor of the raw diamonds into that company. So those, I think, are the lessons that we need to learn. That if we decide to do these things properly and hold ourselves accountable, we can achieve and we can go places. But we need to hold ourselves accountable and appoint people for the right reasons. You see, if you appoint me to a job because I'm your cousin or your brother-in-law, that's my KPI. So long as I remain your brother-in-law, I am doing what I was doing. You didn't employ me so that I can perform properly. So don't complain if I'm not performing because you didn't look at my performance when you were appointed. And that is the problem that we have, and that is what we need to be clear of.
Thank you, AC. Yes.
I want to add because I remember out of the Mobito, there are things which we should also take into consideration. What they are doing is people who are involved, and what we are being given in some mining agreements. There is transfer price. There is tax avoidance. Tax avoidance. These people don't tax it. So we have to be very critical in monitoring. Because this can also, we can just keep out of the same power mineral resource we have to do without through transferring pricing, tax push, and we don't the distribution of resources. We must make sure that we follow it up.
Thank you very much.
Maybe I can say something. My understanding is that is that we are trying to create a rail line to enable the movement of goods. Now, it is just an enabling mechanism. The corridor in and of itself will not produce anything. We need to have the products to move in that corridor. Let's look at Tazara. Tazara was created for us by the Chinese. Those of us who are my age and older will remember that the reason why we went with the Chinese is not that we started with them. We went all over the West and they said it was not an economic thing to do. But Tazara is there. And at the beginning, in the past, 40% of the cargo in Dar es Salaam was Zambian cargo. And then we started failing to move the cargo. The train from that to Lusaka was taking 7 days. Those are the problems that we create. It's not as if we create the bit of corridor, The corridor in itself so much. It's what are we doing with the corridor? What are we moving? What are we enabling to move along that corridor? And I think that those are the conversations I think that we should be having.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I know that we're running out of time, so I'll just take two very short questions. We have the actual space. I saw a hand somewhere on that side.
All right. So currently, this is only this foundation, and so my question was basically what is needed, especially Zambians invest in the mining sector. Of course, there's a point you mentioned to say Zambians are not really having the positive idea of investing in mining. But one thing that I've noticed, and something that everyone has noticed, is for example, when not so now really set up, let's say, a business in Zambia, that's the tricky part. Of course, let's talk about the terms of it. Let's talk about all the things that the government is looking out for. For example, just the miners that are legal miners, I don't know if you've seen how much human rights have been violated there. But look at what happened to sign our universities, the regulatory provision and everything. And then look at the measures that have been just a comparison between these regions and societies. So for me, I feel like we don't have legislative policies or laws that would protect Zambians if there were policies that would favor Zambians. I mean, I would want to, of course, invest in mining, but again, what policies are there that favor me more than the policies that favor someone who's coming from, let's say, outside Africa? So the tax policy also becomes an issue as well as the other policies that are always there. I think my speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, you would like to respond and
Yes, I think as I was saying earlier, that we need an environment. We have our own waste elements. We don't like to see others prosper. And for me, I like to say this, that we like to masquerade as Zambians as we like to loving people, but we have a very terrible policy, pulling down. And we need to say, when you fail, people say, my language, how can it help me? So we need to have an enabling environment. Yes, the government needs to bring in measures to help business grow and give foreign investors tax breaks. For example, as a you come across with.
Okay, so can I go ahead? Okay, my name is Jacob. First, I think you will talk about asking the right question. And that particular question that we ask you, in terms of getting benefit from the mining sector. You also talked about that there's no nature of taxation. So if you were to talk about tax holidays, then that is not even an answer. Who say that Zambians do not have the capacity to run? Because I feel that everyone crosses mining is actually intensive, very intensive in this. So Zambians cannot, if they are given the capacity, the right financing and the equipment to run.
Thank you, sir. I believe that to reach the point. I agree with you that we have the capacity. We are not enabled. And the question we're asking, what we asking the president, not asking myself, the president, rather to see that how can we benefit out of the current mining regime that we have. And what I'm saying that I'm repeating is that the right question? Is the current mining regime the way it is dominated? Is it the way that we want it to be? Because if you need to process the just into Zimbabwe, you will find Zimbabweans, those platinum mines, those mines, those copper mines, those asbestos mines. What has happened? Again, it's a question of the policy framework. And the policy framework, we like to speak, to act as if the government is out there. We are the government. We are the ones who elect the people who govern us and we hold them accountable. And so we are the ones dictating what we want. And we are not saying the correct thing. You said about tax. No, the tax is important. If they make me and you as Zambians, if you look at the Zambian tax funds, pay as you earn, I think is the biggest tax that Zambia gets. That's the tax that you and I pay. But we don't earn the most money. So why are we not taxing the guys who are making the money? Okay, even if it's not going to develop us, but it will take us someplace. So that's the starting point. We tax those who are doing the business. And then we enable our own industries to grow and be Zambia owned.
Thank you very much. I know that there's many hands that wanted to raise a few questions and concerns, but unfortunately, I'm running out of time, and I know that my dearest moderator will eat me up if I ask that question. But just in closing remarks, a few takeaways of my own here. I see that in terms of the civil society, the way in which they can contribute is first of all, they need education, they need capacity building, and they need awareness raising. In terms of the legal perspective, we see that we do not have enough legal frameworks, policy frameworks is the first thing that we need to consider and look into. And in terms of running these big organizations, we need to have discipline. There is also need for accountability. And as we conclude, I'm sure that the two panelists have given their closing remarks, so I'll just go ahead and say that as we conclude, I encourage each and every one of us to reflect on the rich insights that have been shared here and consider how these recommendations can be translated into actionable policies and practices. Of course, our collective efforts can ensure that Zambia's mineral wealth supports not only economic prosperity, but also social equity and environmental integrity for generations to come as well as ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We have now come to the end of our session. Thank you.
So that's is our education line. I asked you from an interesting place. I've always seen someone owning a company, it's an anti-corruption issue. In Zimbabwe, the side the country gave us an example. We find very good young businessmen. So, trying to, and the over hours, as long as someone is complaining that it has lost their money, but just exploit. You don't even need to be caught when you're in an argument yourself. But on the other side, the law will visit you. Have we taken our PhD to that level?
This is the moderator. I'll answer very quickly. First, the PhD is not enshrined in the law. It is enshrined somewhere else in our minds. Secondly, I think that we need to have another conversation about wealth creation very quickly. And this is my take. The problem in this country is that if we are true to ourselves, in Zambia, we have three means of wealth creation. One is theft and corruption. The second one is to go and see Papa and sow a seed and then you will repair. The fourth one is you go to each doctor and you apply your money, you multiply your money. If you not, there is nowhere where hard work is included there. Now, if you are a business and you have earned enough money to drive a Rolls Royce Phantom, surely your tax record must show, because tax evasion is a criminal offense. Everyone is there is no country where tax evasion is not an offense. So the problem is that we have this wealth where today, like somebody said about someone, those who are old enough to remember, he was just walking the other day with green Panamas. Today he's driving a Mercedes Benz. And this is witchcraft. You can't earn wealth like that. Let's realize that wealth must be properly made, and it's got a record. If the government asks me whatever car I own, I should be able to show. My record of employment should show. My income, my tax return should show that this is where my own view is that even in South Africa, for instance, and in the United States, and in other countries, they actually use their networks. If you've got income, show us how it came to you. And this is much more.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to the panelists and the direction, as well as the family. The plan is very interesting. She excited and speech to expect. Colleagues, everybody that we're now taking to sessions that can parallel. The one that is remaining here is the one that is looking at financing sustainable mining, investment and revenue management. Here, our objective is exploring financing models of sustainable mineral development. So you remain in this platform. Those that are going to the smaller dome, so the smaller dome, like I said, you go down the staircase, just behind here. It's a standalone, as if you're going to the reception there. It's a standalone dome. This one is moderated by CSPR. It says executive director, but I cannot see Isabel. There's someone standing from CSPR. The other one that is going down, the sustainable mining lessons, possibilities, opportunities to explore the opportunities to ensure a sustainable extraction of critical minerals. This one is moderated by Abigail Mailenge. So Abigail and your team, you go downstairs. Where's Abigail? Okay, so those that are following Abigail, just stand up, Abigail. Those are following Abigail on this topic. So part of our panelists, I see the Finnish Embassy, I see Sino Mentors, I see WWF, a community representative to be advised. I hope by now the organizing team has picked up Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, then we have KCM, then we also have the United Nations Environment Program. So that's a list of panelists that are going on the other side. The list of panelists that are here, we have ZCM, that's Ms. Malakatwe, then we've got self-help, that's Ms. Chitupa. Then we have the Development Agency. Then we have NAPSA, National Pensions and Schemes Authority. Then the Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank. You are remaining here where CSP is connected. So we have just about 30 seconds to those that are walking out, just walk out with Abigail. Please for the rest will remain here, we'll get started. So for the panelists still here, the moderator in here, just wait for colleagues to walk out and pick it up. CSP, are standing in? Or you standing? Okay, okay. And when you start with the engagement, especially outside there, you make sure that you complete everything. The delegates will only come in for their tea break, then we depart for the end of the day. Then we meet tomorrow as the program indicates, as early. We hope tomorrow to start at 8 a.m. or latest 8:30, but we will start very early. Thank you.
May I request my partners to be here, please? If you're here, please come through. Self-help here, please come through. Panelists that are supposed to be here, please come through.
Panelists here, ZCCM, do we have? No? Self-help, I can see who's here. Zambia Development Agency, where are they? ZDS
is here.
NAPSA? NAPSA? Okay. Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank? I hope I'm in now. So make sure. So if you can move up front to be good, I think the number is smaller now. We could get closer. Just move closer. Man will mix it up. Move a bit closer. Let's not waste much of time on that issue as well. Those that can move, please move. So that we get that man.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Glad to be moderator for this session. The name's Emmanuel Zulu from CSP, our Civil Society for Promotion Council. We have a very interesting session that is going to look at financing modules for sustainable mining practices or sustainable mining in Zambia. And I'm joined by two panelists. I'm glad I was getting worried. No one was coming here. Thought I'll be the one to be interviewed by someone else. Well, thank you so much. ZDA, good to have you. Self-help. Is it? Thank you so much. Maybe looking at the financing of mining itself, the models of financing, I think it still is a big question as to what exists as the financing models. You know, for mining investments, we're looking at different types of mining. And in this case, we are looking at sustainability of mining, sustainable mining. And if I got the PS right, I think he did talk about transparency when he was referring to the aspect of revenue. He did talk about safe mining. He did talk about equity. I think those are the key, pillars of how mining is envisioned, to run. But I think the biggest question still comes in the aspect of financing. I'll start with ZDM. We've hit, in the news, and of course, just recently,
The ZDA, DG did announce that Zambia managed to secure financing, investment actualization. I think of a significant amount, if I'm not mistaken, things slightly over 12 billion. I think that is very positive. But I think our question really is maybe just trying to find out, how can Zambia, attract responsible investment, while, protecting national interests and ensuring environmental and social compliance. Thank you so much. My name is Peter Musangu. I'm the investment promotion specialist at Zambia Alternative Mining Indaba. I'm sitting in for the Director General, who would have loved to be part of this group discussion. The Zambia Alternative Mining Indaba, as many of you may know, is an institution that was established to promote investment, trade, as well as business development in Zambia. So we have quite a number of activities that we run as an agency to ensure that we are able to attract investment. We are also able to facilitate and promote trade. At the same time, we are able to help growth-oriented small and medium enterprises so that they're able to grow and become the next generation that is going to be able to export, at the same time produce for the local market. Now, the Director General last week also announced a huge figure, which we are proud of because of the many initiatives that we've been having. And the announcement was mentioned of about $12.2 billion of investments that have come into the country. It is coming from the deliberate actions that have been done previously to support trade, to support investment in Zambia. And some of them are, when you hear of the issues that we are taking, the investment issues that we are taking, which are very targeted. And we target countries that we've already come from profile and know that they already have a buy-in or they have an interest in Zambia. And also look at respective companies in those countries which we think would be interested to invest in Zambia. And when we approach them, it's very easy to convince them to come through and invest. So that's how we come to figures as what was announced by the Director General last week. Now, the issue of sustainable investment in mining, I'm not to question that mining is a very important industry or sector for ZDA, and it's one of the priority sectors as enshrined in our Investment, Trade and Business Development Act number 18 of 2022. So the mining itself being a priority sector means that we're also putting so much effort in promoting it. And also it gets certain incentives because it's being promoted. And we are now also trying to focus on how do we ensure this value addition than just extraction, which is very key for a country like Zambia because we are for a long time dependent on extraction and less of the value addition. But we see that there's a lot of policy adjustment to ensure that the value addition is promoted, including certain agreements that are being signed by ZCIH as well as the government, where they are now saying that there should be about 20% of the copper that is extracted that should be left in the country for processing. And this is coming from a background where previously when we say we are a copper country, but when we go to the process, we can't find it. So this is a deliberate move so that people who are processing local are able to show the proof of processing. They are given the access to the minimum of 20%, so they're able to process it. So the issue of mining is one that is at the heart of the ZTA. And we know that mining, because of it being very capital intensive, it brings job opportunities at the same time different for the country. We know that the biggest taxpayer in the country is the mining company. So we can't run away from the fact that the mining sector is a very key sector for Zambia. On the part of how we promote sustainable mining or promotion of sustainable mining, we are working with ZEMA, of course, because they are the ones with the mandate to ensure that every investor that sets up in the country, they address the issue of the environment, which is very important for us. And we are also liaising with them because sometimes their processes can seem tedious and take a bit of some time. So our negotiations with them are to ensure that they do their own due diligence, but they do not take their sweet time while doing it, because investments are time bound. So we want a quick turnaround for an investor. When they come to the country, they must get what they want as soon as possible. Of course, following the rules that are issued in the country. So our mandate is to ensure that whoever comes to invest in the country, they must not invest without passing through them. Who is the institution mandated to ensure that the environmental processes are handled? And also sometimes there are social aspects to it, which have to be handled together with them. And these could include displacement, they could include perhaps paying people money because they need to move where they are. So all these things have to be managed. There are also issues of schools that will be close by. When you are doing mining, they may need to be displaced. Also, you may need certain amenities within the plant that will need to be put in place. All those are things that the ZTA will ensure that the investor is able to do before they actually set up in the country. So our role is to ensure that we promote the investment and then work with the institutions like Zambia so that the required environmental aspects are handled for this investor puts their plant in the country. And of course, as we go on. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you so much. Well explained there. I was almost coming to the other part of the environment, and the social aspect of which you've ably answered and responded to. But we'll get to that more. Maybe just getting to self-help. I would like to know, you are in the finance space, and maybe would like to educate us on existing, models of financing mining activities. Of course, we are very familiar, with equity and all that, but maybe there are other, financing models, especially that we are also dealing, with artisan small-scale miners, even as we talk about this conversation of mining investment.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, as introduced, my name is Lusaka, and I work on an EU-funded project called Green Tech for CE. The main purpose for this project is to help catalyze investment in green and circular economy activities within Zambia. So for those of us who may not be very familiar with what GCDE means, is we are trying to move the current economy model from a linear model to a more circular model. So circularity in its nature is to enable for sustainability. How can we ensure that the resources that we have today are there many years to come? And I think that has been the theme of the conversation today. That we ensure that we hold or we take care of what we have now in order for us to be able to use them in the future. So the Green Tech for CE project then is implementing these projects across different value chains, which includes mining. And obviously we promote different models aside from just recycling, because the moment someone says circular economy, the first thing you think of is recycling. But you'll be amazed that recycling is the least of the most effective strategies. We have other strategies such as rethinking, reusing, remanufacturing, so many other models that we should be implementing in our economy. So the Green Tech for CE project is implementing, or rather is deploying financial and technical assistance grants. So these grants, again, like I said, to help catalyze investment. Investment from different, obviously from different owners of capital, including the commercial capital players, governments, international investors, whichever ones would like to partner with the micro enterprises. So coming down to investment in mining, as we may know, the link between mining of critical raw minerals and secularity is very distinct in that obviously for us to be able to develop technologies that can help improve our, or rather reduce our carbon footprint, we need the use of these critical raw minerals. So we are, as a project, issuing grants from as low as 25,000 euros to 150,000 euros for small and startup enterprises. And we recently closed the first and second call, which we were given up to 1 million euros in grant financing towards those entities that can provide evidence that they have entered into a joint venture agreement with the European Union sourced country. For those who do not meet that criteria, the maximum grant was going up to 500,000 euros. So the grant itself is supposed to be implemented in different ways, such as the purchase of equipment that can help modernize or make your processes much more efficient, improve your processes within your enterprises, but also for you to be able to acquire linkages, market linkages to the European Union market. Because I think earlier the panelists from the delegation did mention that the aim of the EU Zambia strategic plan is for investors in the European Union, those with capital who would like to invest in countries like Zambia, can access or can be connected to some enterprises here in Zambia. So as you may know, investors tend to need a loan to certain things. So projects like ours help to create that pipeline. So you find that the kind of businesses that we deal with are typically considered high risk. Imagine artisanal miners. For a bank to come and fund a cooperative, for example, the cooperative would need to meet very high standards. But when you consider grant financing or concessional financing, it's sort of a simmered down criteria. Of course, we do have criteria that you have to adhere to, but at least we've positioned ourselves that if we can be able to de-risk your business, then you can attract the likes of investors, international investors, as ZDA has indicated, or even commercial banks. Those are the kind of pipelines that the kind of projects help to develop.
Great. Well explained there. Very interesting to note that you actually, provide that link even to, small and, maybe cooperatives that could be involved in mining. I'll get back to ZDA, a very interesting, question that I'll have regarding, your mandate, to attract investment, and specifically, I'll fall on the report from the Financial Intelligence Center that exposed illicit financial flows worth about $3.5 billion US. And I'm bringing this question in light of investment in the mining sector, and maybe just trying to see what measures could be implemented to curb illicit financial flows, even as we are on the verge of maybe on a move to attract investment. Is there any link that exists at all where we engage investors and ensure that they abide by the laws of the country, and maybe find the means of reducing these financial leakages through illicit practices, more especially in the mining sector?
Thank you so much. And I also want to mention that the submission myself here put a certain context on mining, because most mining projects, like I said, were capital intensive. And because of the risks around projects where at the initial stage, they need funding for studies. And we find that we also have a challenge to promote those projects, because there's almost no investor willing. There are very, very few investors willing to come and do exploration. Most of them, they are happy to partner with the company that has well done certain studies. So the coming in of initiatives like self-help actually helps a lot. And most of those activities like exploration, they are better funded by grants and not loans. And for obvious reasons, you do not want to borrow money for an experiment, because exploration is more experiment. So you want to be very careful how you use money and that, or how you fund that activity of exploration. So once that stage passes, then it's easy for us to find someone who is able to come in and invest. So we appreciate such initiatives. And we're also seeing a lot of initiatives like green bonds being issued. And Zambia, we now have a record of a successful green bond that was issued by Corporation. So we are always calling on many people that they should come through and try to buy in such initiatives, promoting sustainable mining in the mining sector. So the question that you asked on is it financial flows and what CTA is doing to mitigate or to manage certain to a certain level the illicit funds. We have a unit in ZA called the Investment Support Unit. So the Investment Support Unit works together with another unit in ZA called the Monitoring Information Unit. So these they undertake site visitations to respective institutions for many reasons. One is to ensure that we are able to track the progress of what investors want to invest. So when an investor comes to say that I'm going to invest 5 million in this project, so we have a team that will make sure that we follow up with this investor until the 5 million is put in the country. So that's one part. The other part is to go and ensure that they check on the compliance of this institution to ZRA as well as the Ministry of Mines. And they also ensure that this team is able to file returns, because now they are supposed to file returns to ZRA. So those are the ways in which we try to make sure that there is some sight of what is happening with these investors as they come in the country. Now, the other issue would be how do we ensure they actually do it, which we may not have the mandate to follow to the latter, on whether they are actually on how they are going to comply. We can only check based on what we are given. And ZRA also is linked. So now we are the system that is supposed to link ZA and ZRA, so that when ZA goes to inspect, ZRA is able to see, and we are able to track the compliance of the company to ZRA. And that we think with time is going to some extent reduce certain illicit behaviors of investors. And also at the point of holding them, which is a very critical point, because you want to hold when it's hot. So at the point when they want so much to invest in the country, we walk them through the things that they need to look out, the compliance issues. And one of the things that we need to have when they get the investor license, they need to comply to ZRA. So we do our own check before we issue the investment certificate. And they comply to ZRA. They have workers' compensation certificate, for instance. Do they have background documents? And also the printout of background. So all those things are just trying to ensure that we have a bit of some comfort of knowing this investment before they actually get to implement their project in the country. So to a certain extent, we are able to monitor, and we are also linked to ZRA, so that then together we work to ensure that certain activities are related as much as possible by investors.
We'll come back to you just to see how maybe we can help each other understand, the interplay of investment and community benefits beyond taxes. I know the senior council did, bring out a point during this panel when we sat here as a panelist on the aspect of corporate social responsibility I know that mostly the traditional way of getting revenue is through taxation and all that. We hope that this revenue will be, channeled in the economy to benefit, the communities and the citizens. But is there any direct link, between investment and direct, beneficiation of the communities, even as you are approving these, application, for investment, especially in the mining sector? We have no law currently, on corporate, so it's like, well, we expect that they will do this and that. Are there any talks, around, making this, maybe legal provision for such, undertakings? And we may have to even move it from corporate social responsibility. I think there were talks of corporate social investment. So are there any talks to make it mandatory? Or maybe even as they are coming to invest, there could be some kind of social contracts that are signed?
Okay, so like you said, the law to make it mandatory is not there. At the same way, there is no law to make sure that investors, they find the local bank. That is not yet there. But there is policy direction. And when there is policy direction, what to work around the policy that is given. And some of the policy directions are pronouncements. One of them is from the president, who was time and again mentioned, let's find ways of promoting joint ventures. So that when the foreigner comes to Zambia, they find a Zambian who is ready to partner with this foreigner. Then they invest into one project. Trust me, this is more sustainable than going to give free money or than the social responsibilities that one impose on the investment. I'm saying it's more sustainable because we are equipping people to be able to be self-sustainable than to give them a borehole without giving them the resources so that they can also maintain the borehole and also be able to produce for their own families. So once we have more joint ventures, once we have more Zambians coming on board to play a role in the economic activities, then we'll be able to get over to higher. Now, one of the things that CTA does is we call, even right now, it's called on our website. I love the conversation about the Robeto corridor. We are having a business forum to promote the Robeto corridor in November. So we are having two forums, one in the corridor and one is coming here within a space of 1 week. So we have a call, we are calling on businesses that they should submit their projects to the Zambian businesses. So to profile these projects and make the investment ready. So that when we find an investment, international investment, it's much easier to talk. The two of them will talk. And also we are running trainings on how to pitch a project for Zambian companies. So that when they sit in a pitching conversation, they don't fail to do justice. So all those are deliberate moves to see how we can promote the local community, which has already made itself ready to receive. So there's need of readiness to receive from the local, from the Zambians. So it's very important that we target more on how do we empower Zambians by finding them the correct investment partners. And this only comes after the profiling is done. And this profiling is free of charge by ZTA. ZTA will do the profiling free of charge and will be working with UNITO for a long time to profile projects. And when you go on our website, you see a lot of profile projects. And wherever we go, international and local, we display those projects for the governments. If they want to interrogate further, they'll bring you to the table. You then pitch your project. Now, that's where the training on pitching comes in. Because we can bring you and we cannot do so much as it is. There's a part for you to do, which is the pitching. So we're also trying to train people so that they know how to pitch their businesses. So at the time they come to a table with an investor, they say the correct things when it's supposed to be said. And then it triggers a further conversation which can lead into an investment. We also hold small businesses. And We have a number of businesses actually. If you come to ZTA, you see a number of businesses that we call success stories of ourselves by linking the Zambian company to an international business. And most of them, I think you may have seen the program that was running on ZNBC for about a year, where we're bringing people to give their success stories based on how we've managed to onboard them, find investors, and get the invest. I may not be able to mention names now for obvious reasons that I'm not permitted to, but we will be glad to share some of the success stories that we have when we are promoting the programs. And this is very important because the corporate social responsibility is not empowering me. It's giving me the social abilities, but I need to be empowered so that I can provide for my family, as well as the other family providing for me. And that cannot happen if I'm really empowered. So we call on Zambia, please come to ZTA, bring your projects, let us work together, profile project. What a profile project? What do you think you do? People don't have the money. And then the rest is your story. You'll be able to promote your business right in the face of the business.
Great, well explained and very elaborate explanation there. Madam Chitupa, maybe just to hear from you with regards, development financing institutions. Is there a way in which they can, help diversify, Zambia's mining economy, from just extractives, probably maybe going into value-added processing and other industries, or maybe whatever comes is extracted and it's take or leave?
No, it's definitely not take or leave. And I think this is a call to every Zambian in this room to ensure that you hold the powers that be accountable, that we do not end up as a shopping site for raw materials, but we should endeavor to discover many ways of diversifying. And just from the project that I'm just talking about, the Tech for CE project, we are eager to partner with businesses at small and micro as well as startup stage, in order for them to move, for startups, for you to move your project from ideation, prototyping to commercialization. I think this is the first time, personally, that I have seen in the last couple of years where a project is willing to even invest in a startup. That alone should signal the funders' objective of the project, that we want the Zambian people to begin to think beyond raw or raw materials, whatever that may be, and to begin to think around how can you move that idea to an actual commercial product that you can sell internationally to the region as well as to the local market. So the project itself is insisting on value addition because of just obviously the trickle-down effect of what it means to go beyond just producing raw materials, because we understand that when you add value to a resource, you create jobs. Obviously, that will help contribute to the tax basket of the country. And also, there is technical know-how that is transferred from one locality or from one generation to the next. And for us, I think that is where even most of the other initiatives of the projects come in. For example, the project will be launching 2 Fab Labs. Fab Labs are fabricated laboratories that will be located in at least 2 areas in the country. So these Fab Labs are fitted with state-of-the-art machinery, where an innovator can go in there and access these machines, from laser cutters to HD printers, at a very, very small fee. And we're making sure that these Fab Labs are located in a place that is accessible, and a place where you can be able to interact with other innovators. So when you go in the Fab Lab, you will find other people who are maybe specialized in HT drawing or laser cutting. You know, you interact and share ideas. Aside from that, we are also onboarding. We just extended the call for business development service providers who are technicians or technical, who are of technical expertise from different sectors or from different lines, who will handle or equip most of these MSMEs in order for them to become more efficient, but also in order for them to participate. Because we want SMEs or small and startup enterprises to be able to participate in these value chains in order for them to actually add real, tangible impact.
Great. I wanted to take it back, to say the end, but I think I'll allow my audience to also maybe throw some questions that are very, maybe the Ashes can help me with that.
Good afternoon. My name is Ijamwa from Public Transport Secretariat. Thank you for the conversation. And the panel. I have a question that's coming from on corporate social responsibility not being low, and also we don't have investment laws that support foreign investors to come into the country to sort of invest skills and my question for this one is, do you care to make it low, or is it that it's not possible for it to be low? And then the other one is just a comment on the part where it to be good if investors can find Zambia trading. I was in a meeting with Planet Board Zambia, where we are people already had licenses and the moment the bigger came in, they took over, they took over the money. So how then do we trust that when we already done consideration and when other people come in, they will have to partner with us and not take over and ensure that the other don't mind on their own and these resources keep on going in the hands of foreigners. Thank you.
Okay, two more. I see some hands, maybe three more. I hope my panel is taking note of questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is I want to find clearly from ZA. It seems as though much of the talk is on investors and profit companies and everything. I want to find out, is there space for non-profit organizations like ourselves with so much investment coming to the country and the work that we as civil society do, in the mining community? I think qualify to access some sort of like social investment, some grants that we can actually, get and work with the community in order to them also to benefit from what is going on. So I was wondering, has the agency thought about that? And if you have not thought about it, is it something you can think of? But if you thought about it, if you talked about anyone, and if the monies are there, one of the things that we can benefit from this day is also to be trained on how to reach our projects in order for us to qualify for that funding. So really, I just wanted some, your reactions, around that particular issue. That it's very important, given the amount of work that this group of people that are seeing in this room are actually doing in communities.
Thank you very much. My question is also referring to ZTA.
Just a quick one maybe on decentralization, like I said here, can you be found what the provinces, because you are not checking if they are in office, but you are officer, and also that goes to the self-providing, because I think it's very significant. When we have the mining industry in Wakula, I think one of the challenges the mining companies is finding investors, and as a result, they end up just selling their minerals to like sell the deposits. And so I'm looking at this system of providing also decentralized, how this information is taken down so that people can also benefit from the profile. Thank you.
Can get one more? I think there was Mr. Zulu there. Anything?
My question goes to RJ. In your remarks, you talked about promoting sustainable mining. Yeah, I understand Surrender district is rich in manganese mining, of which a lot of activities are taking place there. And the environment has been damaged in terms of manganese mining. So my question is, these people are mining manganese surrender. These mining companies who are doing mining there, do they pay environmental management fund? If they pay, what measures have the government put in place to repair the damage caused by this mining? Thank you.
Maybe before you come, there was a hand just raised on your yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Radisson Blu Hotel. The question was Zambia. I want to find out whether the field is new, the police movement, the police that for mining, promoting and much of the that is in terms of those who are holding on to mining licenses. You find that the building or officials of police or mining that who are holding on to mining license and you have to answer. And that was mentioned for someone to come, really to show the license of many family, and that is holding on a lot of land that is supposed to be explored and then be used for the benefit of communities, used for the benefit of family. So I don't know whether that is conflict of policy here, where you have how you do the measure and let us create for it. And the other thing, in the Ministry of Mines, I think the different language, we should call to the benefits.
Well, very interesting questions. I know when there is a help from government, this is what we expect, especially such an area. I hope that is fine, and we are excited to get to hear from you in terms of feedback. But I think it's an opportunity and maybe the purpose of this Indaba for us to find a common ground or a way forward to regard some of the issues that stakeholders don't know. It's a very rare privilege, and it's beautiful. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for all the questions that have been asked. We'll try to be brief as I try them. Are we scared of law? No, we are not. But I think you are also aware that the process is sometimes taking some time to ensure that there is no put in place. These are conversations being held to see how do we protect the local people and ensure that they form joint ventures. Sometimes also you not want to limit yourself by putting law, then you do not find capital it. And as it stands, like I said, the door is very open for the law to be able to partner with any investor. It's just a matter of how do you strategically educate yourself. So, mid-ZTA is not a profile project, and then you see that perhaps we don't need law, what we need is a project, a package project, so that then it informs it gives a justification. And sometimes we can put law, and then that becomes a justification. So it's not business justified. It's not justified economically. It's justified by an existing law. So question whether that could be sustainable. Because you are comparing someone who partner with you, not because they've got an idea. And she was talking about ideation to the point of production. And if we put law, then we are moving ideation. What we are putting in place is something cast in concrete that you just have to. And we need to try by all means to make sure that we encourage the process of thinking and coming up with an idea, so that then it justifies the reason of partnering. Then it becomes sustainable. Otherwise, there could be a bit of some gray areas. But we are not scared of having that. But what I'm trying to say is that we are better off having an idea. People who can come up with their own business ideas. They will promote them, because if this platform is there, why not? Why not exploring it? So that we see how far it can take us. When it fails to take us, then we're going to complain that even though this policy is there, the problem is we can't have it done. So let's put law that when there is an idea, let's find a partner. Unless there's no partner or there's no idea. If we started thinking those lines, then we should start probing for putting in place such laws that would make the Zambians get partners by law. But what I'm trying to say is that as it stands, it's very open, and we remain open as well to encourage Zambians to come on board, so that we help manage your idea so that it can find or it can attract attention from potential investors, which is okay. And once we do that, then it becomes. Of course, at some licenses, people say that others are being grabbed away by big people. So from the side, we speak so much about mines and because they are mandated, I think, because they are the host. They know quite a lot of things about it. But what I'm trying to say is, they have also a term. They have a tenure. So they give you a license, exploration license. They give you a tenure. If your exploration license is for 10 years, they expect you that in 10 years, you should have found something. You should have determined a certain part, which can be converted to a mining license. So after 10 years, you're going to renew. They should cut part of your license. They should reduce it if you have not done anything, which is a very good thing, very progressive. Because you cannot have land for 10 years, you have not done nothing on it. And you want to continue working to the land when there is someone who can possibly develop it. So if you can manage to find even just a quarter of it, as I found a quarter of it that I can migrate to the mining license, then you are in a different position. Then you are strategically educating yourself for a potential investment. But a perpetual exploration license is not helpful also for us. So I'm trying to be careful and be selective of my words, that the issue of grabbing licenses is not grabbing licenses. It's actually a control to ensure that when you give a license, you use it. You have to use it. You don't need to just hold it. And we also have a number of investors. We have a number of people that are coming and they are looking for investors. But also the problem we have in Zambia is we are quick to sell our ideas than to talk. Get even just 1%. You will be surprised how big it will be when it materializes. Because 1% of $500 billion is a lot of money. So get a share. Don't be too ambitious because you are negotiating on a weak side perhaps. Just have an exploration license. But don't sell it. Don't have a quick fix. Don't sell it. Try to negotiate a share. Then develop together. Make a joint venture. That way it becomes very helpful. So I also want to believe that most of the people that may be complaining, most of the scenarios that when we do a due diligence, we find that actually some of them are being sold at a very cheap price. And it doesn't help the Zambia. It just a quick fix. The economy for them develops in 1 year. After 1 year, they are the lowest. So what we encourage is let's find ways of negotiating for shares. Let's have shares in these companies. Space for non-profit organizations. Yes, sir. We do have space for non-profit organizations. And from the city side, we are trying to work with non-profit organizations. And we start from a point of gap analysis. We see where the gaps are. Then we collaborate together. If we're signing MOUs that inform a framework or gives us a venue which we are going to use to work with you, then we sign an MOU so that we work together to promote any activity that the non-profit is undertaking. Of course, the issue of training on pitching to apply for funding. So it depends. It's not we need to allocate the budget as CTA that we need to have so that people are trained on how to pitch the businesses. This is a guaranteed service that we always give. So it's almost guaranteed that when you come and you ask for a training in pitching of businesses, ZDA will donate to you. So we will be glad to see how we work together so that we promote your activities, especially around sustainability of the environment. And that is very key. You are the purest of the hearts and intention that may who may become with a profit idea. So we can't do away with such an intention. We need to see how we ensure that the environment is very sustainable. Decentralization of ZDA, yes, we are decentralized. Of course, we are still improving. We have not fully decentralized today. We have offices of Wezi, we have an office in Chipata, we have an office in Dona, we also have an office in Livingston. We are still expanding, and very soon we have an office in Guapo, perhaps in Mansa. And we'll be happy to work with yourselves and see how we promote the projects that are in this. I remember last time that you were having the mining activity in Mansa. It was consigned to the mining in Saka. And I was seeing a bit of some questions in other groups, and I said, perhaps we need to think those that were having that mining in Saka to come and talk about their opportunities during the mining in Saka. Because we had brought a lot of people from across the world. So it would have been a very good opportunity for people from to come and showcase their opportunity. And we are hoping that this can be mining in Saka. We have a lot of businesses from Rwanda coming to come and showcase their investments. We have a case of Lusaka resources in Rwanda. And this is a case that as a government, we are trying by all means to promote wherever we go. Because we've noticed the efforts that have been put in that mine. And we would love to have many other people make certain efforts, which makes it very easy for us to promote. So we hope that we are going to have a lot of cases involved, like the some resources case, so we can promote them, and we'll be glad to do that. Profiling, please just reach out to us. Doesn't matter where you are, as long as you reach out to ZTA, we still do the profile. You don't need to be Guapo, you don't need to be in Chipata, you don't need to be in Suez. Wherever the project is, we still profile it, even from our head office. So that is an open service that is done regardless of location. Serenja district and mining of manganese. I've been to Serenja several times and I understand what you mean. I think when you're just driving through that road, you see a lot of dust from the mountains, which is a clear indication of the environmental issues that are there. And from the ZA side, where we are engaging them, because those that have invested, so we get them and ensure that they do their checks and balances of those companies to mitigate. I think it's not just not something like they can travel with. Similar issue with company, Chinese company was manufactured. I think they're trying to work on the batteries. So the acid, when you get to the east of Kawe, you would smell the acid actually, which everyone will say that this we have by just the smell. I don't need to go to the doctor. By just the smell, this should be have. So through our dialogue with Zema as well as the institutions, that issue now, if you go, is no longer as it used to be. There are measures that are being put in place, and we are hoping that the dust that we experience when we're driving through Serenja, it will be an issue of addressed very soon, because there should be sustainable ways in which we can still do mining without causing so much harm to the environment that surrounds us. So thank you so much for raising that, and we'll still request to Zema and see how we work together collectively to address those issues. Police conflict with Ministry of Mines, there's no conflict policy between ZTA and Ministry of Mines. We are actually working together. And if you hear what I say, I do not say that you get a license for speculation. No, you get a license because you intend to develop and form a partnership. We have a lot of issues of having licenses for speculation. They just want it and they are hoping that one day someone is going to cut it. There is no effort at all that has been done. So how we work with Ministry of Mines? Ministry of Mines have their own. Like I said, you can't hold the license to perpetuity. So they will start as the period elapses. So you can't do the same size of land that you are holding the exploration license for. So because of that, it works so fast. We went with you in the period before it actually expires, so that we help you to package your project and find a partner. So at the time that you're going to the Ministry of Mines, you're not going to renew, you're going to change status to get a mining license. Then that way it becomes helpful for all of us. We all get to benefit. The economic benefits and the also benefit. Thank you so much.
Great. Wow. Thank you, deserving clap. I'm sure everybody clapped. Great elaboration and explanation there. Ms. Chitupa, as we close, maybe you would like to respond to any of the questions that were raised.
Yes, but I think Peter did cover them very well. But I think I would just like to speak to the question raised by the ship. Sorry, didn't get your name. There is an opportunity for financing on the Green Tech for CE project for organizations that are able to provide incubation services or be able to provide technical assistance services to the players within the mining sector. So if you are interested, actually as of today, I just got notice that the deadline has been extended. The request to apply was due on the 22nd, but it has been extended for a little longer. So I urge you to go to the website. It's the Green Tech for CE project. So if you just type in Green Tech for CE project, it's an EU-funded project implemented by a consortium of partners, Self-Help Africa being the lead, Prospero, Tandem, and Imani. So any of these social media platforms, you can be able to acquire that information.
But if you're looking for a grant right now, business service providers, if there is anyone here who runs an incubation service to support micro players, cooperatives, you work with cooperatives, sensitization on safe mining, environmental health initiatives, this is the grant that could be best suited for you. I think the maximum, yes, the maximum is about 150,000 euros paid out in form of milestones. Also, just to highlight that we currently have put out several calls so far. The total grant from the European Union is about 27 million euros that we're supposed to deploy in the next couple of years, which is it's a 4-year period project. But one thing that we have come to notice is that most Zambians are not taking up this kind of opportunities. Imagine this is 27 million euros. And if we do not deploy it within this period, it will go back to the funders, which is going to be a shame, because all I'm hearing in the room is we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have, if it's not technical capacity, then it's equipment or capital for a reinvestment in your operations. If it's not that, then it's marketing. But this is what this money is meant for. For those who would like to participate in this project, I think this is a call for you to apply, especially those who are in the extractive and processing of critical raw minerals, the artisanal miners in the room. If your cooperative is fully registered, operating legally, that is, you are registered, you have mining licenses that are in order, or you are a refinery, or you know of any refinery local, that is Zambia refinery. If you are perhaps into testing of these critical raw minerals, or you know anyone who runs laboratories of that sort, and if you are a technician or a technical expert in the mining sector, we are encouraging you, of course, as a consultant, as an individual, you cannot apply by yourself, but we are encouraging you to partner with a business service provider in order for you to be able to qualify. I like what Peter said about partnerships. We've noticed that sometimes you find someone who just peep and ask a few questions. The moment they see that they don't meet even one criteria, they run away. But there's someone out there who you can partner with, who may meet the criteria, and you are the technical head of the project. You know, so I think that is what I can encourage for us in the room, to seek partnerships in order for us to secure funding or investment that is sustainable, not only just for our businesses, but for our local communities. Because sometimes we tend to always explore commercial or traditional sources of income, which are not very sustainable. But where you see someone speaking about concession of finance, you must jump. These grants, for example, these grants are only limited to Zambian companies. Trust me, if we had to open it up to the region, we would be done. The money would be done by December. So Zambians also, it's about, you may not necessarily find this information useful, but there should be someone within your network who can potentially benefit from this kind of opportunity. And in closing, I would like to state that let us put in the work. I always say that when it comes to certain investment opportunities, the investment on your part may not necessarily be financial. Sometimes it's simple things like documentation, compliance. How are you managing your entities? It is one thing to desire growth, but you must also remain accountable within your company. And do not be too quick to resist change. You know, everyone is talking about ESG this, ESG that. These are the kind of principles that will govern money and where money flows. So if the owners of capital are prescribing that ESGs are things that we must adhere to, or frameworks that we must adhere to, begin to educate yourself, begin to sensitize yourself as opposed to resisting them. Otherwise, these opportunities are available to you, my fellow Zambians. Please let's take advantage of every concession of financing that is available to us in order for us to grow our businesses and also impact the communities in which we operate.
Well, there you have it, a very great conversation. You cannot talk about financing without touching investments. I think it's been a great conversation. I'd like to thank you, my panelists. You've been a great panel. I've enjoyed the conversation, and I believe they're heading forward with the theme for this year's Zambia. I hand over to the main moderator. Hope they are close. As we call it a wrap. Thank you so much. You can take your seats. All right, maybe we can have some entertainment, the entertainment group.
I'm not the entertainment group. Okay, so our colleagues are still finishing up in the breakout sessions. So we've been advised that we can have our tea. So you can grab your tea and come back inside just for a debrief as we wait for the other team, then we conclude. The MC tell us the way forward for tomorrow. Thank you.